Hi, everyone, and welcome to Signature West Podcast. I'm your host, Sam West from Palm Springs, California. As you watch every week, I do these episodes in the spirit and the intention of inspiring you, the audience. And I'm going to be starting to do more new series of featuring hot properties in the Palm Springs area and surrounding areas, those properties that has that wow factor. I've been in this business for over 25 years, and till this day, I still get very inspired when I see a property that has just a certain aspect of architectural features that I have not seen before. And today is no exception. My guests today are colleagues of mine, and they have a listing that is very inspiring. David Goldberg and Anthony Holland. And let's find out from them, why is it so special, where it is, and what makes it so has that wow factor. Hi, guys.
Hi, Sam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. Okay, so let's start by you guys telling us and the audience, how did you guys meet, and what part of town you're in? Why Palm Springs?
So going back, I started in the industry back in 2005, did a little bit of escrow, did some title, did loans, all of that. Naturally progressed into sales. Started sales in Orange County, came back out here to my home, and where I have a lot of friends, a lot of family, and jumped right into real estate sales here. While I was at Windermere, this new agent walks in, and I got to meet him, with David, and learned a little bit about his background from the corporate world. Very impressed, very smart guy, and was really good to be able to bounce ideas off of him. And I happened to be working on a deal, and I asked David to look at the numbers on it, and was really intrigued by just his analysis of it. You know, he was thinking of things that I had never thought about. So I had asked him to team up with me, jump onto my team, and kind of help him through the new, the first year of real estate. And David just took off, and now I'm absolutely amazed with things that he's doing. And especially, working on very iconic properties like the one we're going to talk about today. So David and I have been together for about 3 years, and we've had some exciting times and sold a lot of cool real estate together, and really excited to work on this project with him.
Is it just the two of you, or do you have more in the team?
So we have a Lauren Bryant, who is also with us, and she's more of a buyer's agent. She's not really 100% active in the business, but she's more behind the scenes, and kind of on an assistant role, but more of a buyer's agent as well.
And is it fair to say, so 3 years ago, you guys just got a taste of the 3 years ago market? You haven't really experienced 2006 or 8 or 9, or even before that. So it's been sort of like a high for you guys.
Well, I was in escrow at the time during, right before the last crash. So it was very interesting to me to walk through that. And I was also doing loans at the time. So
right.
while that was all going on, I was watching what was happening. And I had a lot of friends that were in the industry, obviously. So once I saw what they were doing, I'm like, well, naturally, I was already licensed.
Right.
And by the time I decided to jump ship and go into sales, we started seeing a crash in the market. But these are definitely exciting times. This real estate market, one of the things a lot of brokers say, it's very tough to make money in a good market, which a lot of people don't understand, but it's highly competitive. And it's not easy to keep a lot of these deals together. There's many facets that are happening in a good market.
It's a good training time. It's a very good training time. If you survive now, you probably most likely will survive the easier stage, the next stage when things calm down a little bit.
Exactly. And, as I always say, if you can make it through the first 2 to 3 years of the industry, you're pretty much made. And, I really wanted to help David and build him to, be where he is today, to make sure that he has that longevity through the past, through the first 2-3 years, which, he's making that, and, he'll continue to be a great agent in the desert.
And what area are you both in, individually or collectively?
So I live in La Quinta. I've lived in Palm Desert. I've lived in Rancho Mirage, but I really love La Quinta. I love the easy pace, slow pace lifestyle. Our office is based out of Palm Desert, and I just love to be very centrally located, as we work both east and west end of the valley. So it allows us to get anywhere very easily.
So this listing that you guys have, which I find it very inspiring, and I ran across it a few weeks ago, and was like, wow. And then I saw actually a posting of Tish your office manager that was like, I got to get a hold of this and find out more about it. Not just and from you guys. I want to hear from you guys. So how did this listing come about, and what makes it so unique? I mean, for me, it's very unique.
Yeah, well, the house was originally designed and built by William Nicholson, who was an architect in 1977, and has since been nicknamed the Santorini house based on its, Santorini influence and the look. Nicholson built 4 of these style homes, of which only 2 remain. There's this one, and then there's the Flintstone house in Hillsburg, California. They were created by spraying shotcrete onto steel rebar and wire mesh frames over inflated aeronautical balloons. So he was really experimental as far as being an architect. I have, as a child, I always wanted to be an architect. That was always my desire. I didn't have that opportunity. Ended up in the corporate world for 30 years, and now in real estate, just because I love, I've had the opportunity to buy and sell a lot of homes, and I know what I believe I know what makes a good agent.
Can I stop you? Can you tell us what that is?
Someone who listens. My key words are due diligence. Someone who can pay attention to what the client's looking for and understand, the parameters, understanding the community.
Right.
I have a long history in Palm Springs. I've been coming here since I was 4 years old. My grandmother lived here, and I moved here in 2003. So, I know the areas, I know the neighborhoods, I know the personalities of the neighborhoods, and that's really important because, as you know your clients, you really want to help them understand, this area is great for one person and yet, not good for another. And that's
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to touch base on that. Okay.
I think that's great. Yeah, I think it's important. Back to talking about the house, Dan Valentino of Valentino and Valentino Realtors purchased it a few years back and did a complete reimagination and renovation of the home, which was completed in 2019. It has a celebrated history of iconic photo shoots and special events, generating $5,000 plus a day. It's just a very dramatic home. As soon as you enter through the majestic gates up an almost 300-foot driveway, you come to a landing at the very top of the mesa with absolutely unbelievable views. The only views I've seen similar to this are in Southridge. It's also very secluded and very private, and there's a high security system there. Like I said, sweeping panoramic views of the entire valley. Once you're inside the house, natural light pours in through a giant skylight in the great room, which is also tinted with special tinting that only eliminates the IR, so the heat doesn't come through, but you get all the natural light, which is really a wonderful thing. An abundance of natural elements were used in the renovation, including century-old beams from a 120-year-old farmhouse and imported tiles from Greece. The estate sits on over 1 acre of land, there's a total of 3 lots, which have 3 individual APN numbers, and it's a total of just over 1 acre. The upper lot is undeveloped. It's 0.56 acres. So,
are they together as far as the sale?
Yes, they all come. All 3 lots are together in the sale for the sale price. It's being offered at 2.975 million.
And we have a video of it. So let me try to share the video one more time and see how this goes. And perhaps we can show the audience what's happening here. Okay, here we go. Go for it. Is this the?
Sorry? I think that's France instead of Greece. Oh, there we go. Yeah, as you can see, I mean, the home looks right out of Santorini. There's actually a total of 3 stories. The 3rd story is a viewing deck, which actually this picture is shot from. It's just got unbelievable views. You get the morning sunrise over the valley, and it's just gorgeous as the light changes through the day. everything has been completely updated, all new doors, windows, the kitchen, Viking ranges, Viking fridge, a giant family room, which opens up to a private patio. It's just there's lots of great individual spaces in this house. That's the upper viewing deck there. And it's a very meditative space. There's another viewing deck that's at the south end of the property, which again, just gives you an additional perspective. Yeah, it's just a very special property.
Very, very beautiful. Yep.
Yeah, at night, it's just spectacular. I mean, the way the property lights up and the city views, it's really quite amazing.
Beautiful.
The upper lot, for someone who has a vision, they can build a guest house, a studio, a multi-car garage. It's also got sweeping views of the valley, and on its own, it's 0.56 acres. So it's a great opportunity for somebody who wants to put their own touch on a piece of Palm Springs history.
Where do you guys see that price point stands? Obviously, the lower price range, the 300, the 400, 600 is flying off the shelf. Where do you see that under $3 or $3 million range in this day and age happening? What's going on with it?
Well, inventory is extremely low at all price points. I mean, there are not a lot of homes. I've got buyers I'm working with anywhere from, again, 500,000 up to 4 million. And it's a challenge at all levels. It's just based on the lack of inventory. So the demand is there. People continue to migrate to the desert. It's a wonderful community. It's just such a great place to live. I grew up in LA, and given proximity to LA and San Diego, and an international airport, it's just a great place to be.
So you've seen the demand is really across the board, not just for a certain price point.
Correct.
No, and one of the things, let me add to that. One of the things that we're seeing is the $1 million to $3 million price point is one of the fastest moving price points in our current market. There's probably, last time I checked, there was only 17 homes that were on the market that are really comparable to this price wise. But what we're seeing is a lot of people are able to afford a little bit more if they're getting a loan. We know there's a lot of cash out there in the market.
Right.
And supply and demand, due to COVID, we never really thought this would happen to the market over the last 12 to 16 months range. But this is a very fast moving market. Most of the stuff that's coming on in this price point is selling within a month to 2 months. And we've already started getting showings on this and having interest from really people all over the world. That's what David and I have really put our heads together and figured out, how do we market this? It's unique, it's great, it's going to get its own exposure, but we have to also now talk about how do we get it out there to the world? Because we never know where our buyers are going to come from, but majority of our buyers are from locals, meaning in the US. Right. We're seeing a lot of foreign stuff now that the restrictions are lifting and people are able to travel. So we're still tapping into all of the worldwide markets, but we're really focusing a lot on nationwide marketing because we're finding out a lot. That's where a lot of our buyers are coming from. And COVID really helped us because people are coming in from other markets, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, those type of markets, and they're having what we call reverse sticker shock. So they look at something like this and they say, wow, I could buy this unique property for $3 million. You take this house that's listed at.
You froze. Anthony?
Oh, I think he's frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we've.
Oh,
here we go.
So unique, but there's nothing like it.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned, well, hopefully this podcast will help you with that. It's, it's on 5 different platforms. So hopefully the world are going to be watching this and listen to this.
Sure.
You said something interesting, Anthony, which is COVID, did influence the supply and demand. I did a podcast about a month ago with Dean Foster and Tish Herwig, which you know who they are. And we spoke about what made this frenzy. I call it a frenzy, just my personal label on it. We talked about what caused the frenzy, and we all agreed. I wanted to know what you guys think, or Anthony, you mentioned that, and I think we're on the same page. The frenzy was caused literally in the last year or so for certain COVID-ish. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it comes back to, at the end of the day, as all three of us know, and anybody listening to this knows, spending more time in your house, you start figuring out what you like and don't like about your house. Typically we spend
Or
a
about
third of
yourself.
the time, yeah, and typically we're a third of our time at work. The other, 2/3 is sleeping and out with friends and doing this. So we spend very little time in our home. So as people started doing that, they started figuring out, oh, I could remodel this, or I could move, get a bigger house, smaller house. But what we started finding was a lot of people from other markets, again, New York, San Francisco, and all these things, they became virtual. So they were able to move anywhere they wanted in the country, therefore the world. And a lot of companies shutting their offices down and making everything virtual. I had multiple clients this past year that were moving from, one of them was from New York. They worked at a big bank there. The bank closed down. They went virtual. They thought, we're moving to Palm Springs. We don't want to live in New York. So when they came here, they thought, wow, we sold our place in New York for $2 million. And now we could buy this for $2 million. They were living in a shoebox earlier, and now they're able to afford this big house. So that really affected price. The thing that's really affecting demand from my perspective is people don't have anywhere to go. And as you know, construction costs have gone through the roof. It's very expensive, and builders can only do so much. I think we're seeing a little more traction with that now. We have some new home inventory coming on the market, but again, that's getting scooped up so quickly that there's really not enough demand or not enough supply to keep up with demand. And the other thing that affects that, greatly is interest rates. Money is so cheap that people literally are almost getting free money. So even if let's say inventory went from 1 month worth of inventory, which is about where we're at, to a normal 3 months worth of inventory, the demand is so high, it's going to scoop that extra inventory up very quickly. And in the luxury space, it's always very different in the luxury space. So this property at $3 million, there's a big buyer pool that's out there for that. Most of these people aren't getting loans. Most of these deals are cash. And there's a lot of millennials that are coming into our market. And there's a lot of people that come to Palm Springs that just want cool architectural properties, whether it's a Buff and Hensman, whether it's a William Kreisel, any of these architects. We're dealing with an architect that isn't very well known, but it's so unique because he created this platform to build these homes while he was in Istanbul, Turkey at a Blue Mosque, and he saw these dome structures and he thought, I want to recreate that. So he tried to revolutionize the architectural world. And he did that with this property. It's something that you will never see at Palm Springs. And like David said, there's only 2 of them in the world. And it's interesting, a side note, I drove by this property probably 4 years ago, and I thought, wow, that's a really cool house. I'd love to be part of that someday. And
here we are.
And here we are. And David brought it to my attention, and I thought, wow, we manifested this out there into the world, and it's come full circle. So, really excited to put David and I's heads together and kind of figure out the best way to market the property and get the massive amount of exposure. So we're grateful that you've partnered up with us to do
so
this.
let's talk about, I'm thrilled. Listen, I'm all about marketing. It gives me life. Like I said, I think in this day and age, if you don't be creative and not the status quo, and whether you have a listing like yours or even a condominium, I said this with Tish and Dean in the past as well. You can look it up on the podcast. What makes you, the agent, 1 out of 5,000 or however many we are here, so different? And if you don't, I'm not asking you, I'm just saying in general.
Absolutely.
So whether you have a listing or not, we got to find a way. So if you want to, now we're talking about marketing, do you have ideas? Or this property is very, very unique. I mean, even the neighborhood that it sits in.
The Mesa's great, and David and I take the approach of it doesn't matter to us whether the property is 300,000 or 3 million or 10 million.
Correct.
We take the same approach. Some of the marketing avenues are different because luxury properties get us into other avenues. But like I said, a lot of our marketing stuff is not rocket science. It's not proprietary. A lot of agents can do it, but we get asked those questions a lot of how do we market our properties? Where do we go? There's some things, of course, we don't share because they get flooded with any and everybody. But, absolutely, we go very old school on some things too. We do a lot of print advertisement. We're going to get it back into Palm Springs Life, Welcome Homes Magazine, stuff like that. But social media is huge for us. We do a lot of social media advertisement, getting a lot of engagements in that. But we're using several different platforms that are really reaching out to luxury buyers. Not only our personal website, which has brought multiple luxury buyers through there, but getting avenues to wherever you are in the world and you're interested in architecture, you can read this description, you could read all the details about the property in your own language. It'll go to about 30 different languages. So we're using some platforms like that help people get that and understand. But as you know, Palm Springs is architecturally one of the most significant places, I think, in the world. And that's where it holds a special place in my heart, and the history of Palm Springs. So when we launch something like this out to the world, it does a lot of its own marketing, because people say, hey, I want to see that. What does it look like? And I have brokers from my social media that are going, I'd love to see it when you have it open. So we're using a lot of different avenues like that, but social media is huge for us. As you know, so many people are on that.
So what do you tell the agents that just kill me when they just do not utilize, in this day and age, the benefit and the right usage of social media to market then brand themselves or the listings? What do you tell them?
But
be nice.
I'll be nice. And the best way that I can say that is whatever's working for you, keep doing it, right? It lessens my competition. And again, every agent is very different. I'm probably the oldest 37-year-old you'll ever meet. David and I.
Could be your father.
and because I didn't really like computers, I didn't really like social media, I didn't like technology, I didn't like when I got into the business. And then I started realizing these were platforms that my buyers are using, and my sellers want to see that we're using these platforms to get their properties out there. So social media has been huge. We've had multiple deals that David and I have worked on and put together just off social media. I don't mind being on camera. It doesn't bother me, but we've done a lot of videos. We've sold a couple other very unique properties that were very difficult sales that, it was all from social media marketing. So it's just getting your brand out there and building and building and building off of that, and showing people who you really are. I think that's important. We become robots to a point in our real estate world. We just do the same mundane tasks over and over.
If it's working, don't try to fix it.
Exactly. And that's something where I implemented more social media, but then I started really showing people who I am personally. The fact that I have kids, the fact that I love to travel with my kids and friends and do these things. And people start seeing the human side of who we are as brokers. So I think that's another thing that's important with social media.
Very important. It's really crucial. It's
exactly.
Crucial.
Yeah, people get to know who you are and almost an introduction to the world.
So in conclusion, how do the ones that are going to buy it today, how do they find you guys?
So, HollandGroupProperties.com is our website. That's something that you could go to. You could look at every single property on the MLS. It's updated every 15 minutes. And that also has this property as well. Very soon, we'll have a website up for the property, as we're just getting down to marketing this. But we're both on social media, just with our names, Anthony Holland, David Goldberg. And of course, the website is the best way to go. And that has all of our contact information. And, there's oftentimes people that say, I just want to see the property. I want to check it out. I'm not necessarily a buyer.
Sure.
But my thing is, I never know who is going to know a buyer. So if you want to look at it, if you want to come and see it, David and I would be happy to show it to you, take some pictures, share it with your friends, and go from there. But yeah, we'd love to have any and everybody we can coming through and see it.
Well, I'm glad you guys came along for this half-an-hour ride. I hope it helps you a great deal in just getting the word out, or even sell this house and close it in the next 30 days or so.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure. Thank you both for doing this. For the listeners of the audience, again, I say this every week. If this was something of value to you, please subscribe. If you've watched this half an hour, you went this far, click on subscribe. It helps me to bring people like David and Anthony and others week after week. Thank you guys. We love Palm Springs and we love living here. And keep up the good work. Everybody else, see you next week. Stay safe.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.